Being the social animals that we are, a sense of belonging is very important for everyone. Growing up as a light skinned black boy has made fitting in with any group quite difficult at every point in my life. The black kids treated me like I was white, while the white kids treated me like I was black. Many believed that I was Latino, but my Spanish was not good enough for the Latinx kids to accept me either. My story will confront the race concept as a whole. Through the use of stop motion art, I plan to illustrate the alienation that I felt and show the world, the audience, the pointlessness of the race concept. This is to those who have allowed ignorance to stand in the way of community, and for those fighting to be accepted, for those faced with the dreadfully inevitable question, what are you? As a child, being asked this did not mean anything to me, as I would respond with, I'm African American, and that would seemingly be the end of it. It was not until I moved to Peru around the age of 9 that the world forced me to ask myself this question. When we first moved to Peru, getting through the language barrier proved to be challenging. Nevertheless, I managed to build some friendships that have lasted to this day. Still, there was something that I found confusing. Why did no one look like me? Occasionally, I would get the question, but it was hard to give a decent response in Spanish. ¿De dónde eres? Los Estados Unidos. ¿No eres brasileño? Ay no, yo pensé que él era dominicano. I was seen as the Brazilian Dominican question mark, who knew a lot of hip-hop songs. By the way, I am neither. Eventually, they would just call me the Negrito Gringo, aka Little Black Gringo, and call it a day. I also loved dancing and would do so at any opportunity. When I danced in front of my peers, they would call me 50 Cent in reference to the black rapper. My parents, who both identify as black, have always surrounded me with black culture, so I was never oblivious. There was just something about being seen as black in which my 10-year-old mind found comfort. Seeing Barack Obama become president gave me even more pride and sparked my dream of becoming president. I knew what I was, or so I thought. Moving back to the US at 12, I had an even harder time transitioning than when we first moved to Peru. The most difficult part was adapting socially. My first day in American middle school, I asked what languages we were going to learn in language arts, only getting laughter as a response. Kids asked me the question like it was a hot topic and would guess Mexican, Puerto Rican, or mixed before I could even respond. Then there was lunch, where you choose who you sat with. Lunch is the same at pretty much any point of the public school experience, so the dilemma could never be avoided. Every group was distinct and almost always sat together. I would go to the black table and soon be made fun of for my lighter complexion, hearing the usual, you aren't discriminated against as much as we are, as if it were a competition. Eventually, they would get tired of roasting me, and I would just slide over to the Latinx group. Not long after, my Spanish falls behind, and somebody says something sly about it, like the black gringo can't keep up. The white group is what you might think is the last stop, and I will admit, I did spend time there too. The white group was somewhat easygoing, if you were a nerd, like I was, but I was uncomfortable with how they viewed black culture. Rap music that questioned society wasn't cool enough to be their image of black, so they preferred when I introduced them to 21 Savage over Kendrick Lamar. However, I tried not to let it get to me. For some reason, though, there's always that one white kid who decides to just blurt out nigger, either unintentionally or to trigger me, starting a whole argument. It happened once during lunch in my freshman year of high school. It was multiple times, but this is just the time I remember. The conversation went something like this. Dude, you can't say that. He sucked his teeth at me. Bro, get over it. His nonchalant act caught me off guard. Get over it? We spent 400 years trying to get over, but racism always manages to keep us under. Rolling his eyes, the boy said, it's just a word. Besides, you got your monkey terrorist president anyways. I pulled the kid across the table by his collar. Not punching him in the face was the hardest thing I had ever had to do. But lunch was coming to an end, and people were moving, putting eyes on us. The vice principal's eyes were glued onto me. One of my black friends came up to me later that day. What are you, a coon or something? My confusion must have been apparent, because he felt the need to explain. I saw you sitting with the white kids. One day in high school, I was hanging out in the hallway with three of my black friends, whose names will be fake for confidentiality purposes. Nina had just come from the science classroom. Malcolm, Kyle, and I were waiting for her, and when she came out, we talked and laughed together until Nina made an observation. Isn't it weird that you three are the only black IB guys in our grade? Kyle chuckled. What do you mean? Cameron's not black. What are you talking about? Cam's black. Malcolm shook his head and turned to me. Aren't you mixed? Malcolm was African, truly, and not the South African kind. So shadeism was not as ingrained of a concept for him. Kyle, on the other hand, had a darker complexion, and was from a traditionally African American family. He saw privilege where there was none in my lightness. What he couldn't see were the looks that police give me in public, and the fear that creeps in me when I notice their presence. He couldn't see when I had to stop a white man from putting a hand on my mom at the beach because he felt like we didn't belong. He couldn't see that there was no place that I belonged because when people see me, they always have the same question. What are you?